Hi, my name is Jonathan Rotz, Field Agronomist for Pioneer, and today I'm standing in a Pkp plot here, actually one that if you remember, I was in earlier this spring doing stand assessments. And I just want to talk a little bit with you about late season assessments here and what necessarily I look for. Again, something good to do here pre-harvest. We're starting to get to the place where stuff's filling pretty good. A little background on this plot. This plot has been through a humongous amount of stress. So if you remember back to the first video that I did, I talked about how this was planted right before we went into a really long cold snap. Because of that, we saw a lot of stand issues in this. And that was one of the things I was flagging at that point in time, was looking at some of our leaders, followers, things along those lines. However, this plot never really got to get out of that either. So not only did we have that cool, wet early, but we've gone right into a dry period after that, and really haven't had a tremendous amount of rain since. So we're going to see some stress here, pollination stress, all sorts of things. Not the best thing for trying to produce crop, but it should give us some learning opportunity as well. And that's the key point here. As we talk about late season stand assessments, a lot of this is what can we learn? What can we learn about what we did to help or hinder that yield, as well as what the environment did. I know a lot of us have had really different environments, whether some have had decent amount of rain, others, actually the majority, not so much. We've been a little on the dry side. However, we can look at planting dates, we can look at hybrids, we can look at some of our management practices, nitrogen levels, fungicide use, any of those kind of things, and really start to get a picture of, in this current condition, what helped us out. So just to give a little idea, first thing, whenever I walk into these plots, even before we get to what I saw earlier in the spring, I'm going to look at the uniformity of this stand. And in fact, right now, as we stand here, one of the things I pay a lot of attention to at this time of the year is ear height, as well as tassel height. So I'm going to look down this row, and I'm going to see really different heights of ears. I'm going to follow that by looking at some of these that look like they're behind, and I'm going to look for tassel height as well. Now, if that tassel's behind, likely this was a follower coming out of the ground. Now, if you were in that field before and like we did, flag some things, you can tell. So, for instance, here is an example of one of the followers that we flagged. And you can see the difference in ear height and tassel height based on that follower coming out of the ground. In fact, I even have one of the followers that was significantly behind flagged here as well. And there, you can see that one actually never even turned into a viable plant. It actually, whether some Pythium or who knows what, something happened to that plant. It's no longer here in the stand. The second thing, if I find similar tassel height, but different ear height, I'm going to look and make sure that we didn't do something to abort that primary ear. You can tell if you've aborted an ear off by finding an ear notch in the position above where the apparent primary ear is, as you can see here. All right, so we're looking at uniformity of the stand. We're looking for, did we have any skips? At that point in time, we can start to assess what did those skips do to or against us. And this is going to be very hybrid specific. So in some of these places where we have a hybrid that's got a lot of flex to it, maybe we're not going to have such a bunch of problems with having as big of a skip. However, some of these more determinant hybrids, those skips are going to really cost us. The other thing to look at this point in time, obviously, is pollination. So we're just going to husk back that ear, look at how the pollination is. Again, in this specific case, we've had some serious pollination stress. So because of that, I can give you a couple examples here of ears that just did not pollinate well. Again, some of those you want to check it. Was that a secondary ear? Did something happen to the primary ear or something along those lines? Or did it just happen to, that plant was out of nick? Maybe it didn't get the silks out in time, things along that line. All right, the last thing I want to inspect as we go through this at this stage is just looking at foliar health, diseases and things. Here we can see some northern lesions, and we also have some gray pressure in here. Now, I'm in what we call a Pkp plot, so product knowledge plot. And what we do is we plant a bunch of different hybrids in the same place to try to understand them better for the environment that they're in, as well as, the specific diseases, and looking genetic packages, how those are different. So you're going to see different hybrids in this kind of situation responding differently. If you don't have one of these plots, obviously field to field, you're going to look, but keep in mind that those environments will change. So is it a corn on corn? Is it corn after beans? What are some of the genetics that's on that? So, but those are some of the things to pay attention to. So again, just looking at all of this gives an idea of exactly what I'm typically looking for whenever I'm out scouting some of these late season plots, trying to get a better idea of how these products perform, where we should place them, and where we should not. I hope you enjoyed this. Hopefully you find it informative and helpful, and I wish you all the best of success with your Pioneer products here this fall. If you have any questions, obviously don't hesitate to ask myself or your Pioneer sales rep. Thanks, and have a great day.
That concludes this Pioneer Agronomy video podcast. Visit our page on Pioneer.com and follow us on Twitter and Facebook for more agronomy insights.